SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Roll pre-record on my count. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Roll A, fade up on A.
Southern Miss to the top. You're tuned in to the Eagle Hour.
All right, everybody, good afternoon. SuperTalk Eagle Hour is on the air. Glad you're tuned in. Whatever station you find us every day or online, welcome to the program. Bob Getty, Kelly Sander, Dima Mixon, we're all in the Southern Bancorp studio here in Oak Grove, Mississippi. And the opening segment of our show every day is sponsored, of course, by Dickey's Barbecue, which is a great place to enjoy a wonderful meal tonight. Daniel Stewart later in the show. We're going to be talking a little Southern Miss baseball. There's basketball games to talk about, but obviously there is a huge breaking story that hit all the wires this morning and the internet and every major news source. And then our intrepid reporter here, Dima Mixon, I think takes it a step further than the national media did with research that he has done. And this involves, unfortunately, a nationwide investigation about alleged, and we want to emphasize alleged, point shaving in college basketball. And it was saddened to see Southern Miss's name in that list today with the articles. And then, Dima, you broke it even further, so I'm going to let you take over.
Yes, so of course we all are on social media and stuff, and so Pete Thamel of ESPN reported of this indictment breaking this morning of 20 alleged players, former players, and some current college basketball players involved in this point scheming, point shaving scheme, and this is kind of off of that NBA investigation they had a couple months ago with the FBI Director Kash Patel and all these things. It's a years-long investigation. So this is kind of the back end of that with the college basketball part. And so I was reading through the initial report, and of course Southern Miss's name was mentioned on there. And so I did some extra digging and got a copy of the indictment. And we can report that former Southern Miss men's basketball player Orlando Arnold, which most people know as Mo Arnold, has been charged and is a defendant in the case, according to the indictment. He is the indictment alleges that Arnold was recruited in late February 2024 by a group of sports betting, as they say in the indictment, quote unquote fixers. This allegation that the indictment says that the players agreed to intentionally underperform during first halves of games in order to influence outcomes, specifically point spreads. The indictment mentions 2 Southern Miss games that Mo Arnold allegedly did this. The first was in February 28th, 2024, which was a game on the road at South Alabama. The indictment says that more than $275,000 was waged upon this game, upon the first half, which was South Alabama covering the first half. That attempt actually failed, and because the game was tied at halftime, so that they did not win that spread. So then, to basically, after that, Arnold, to get it right this time, the following game on March 1st, 2024 against Louisiana Lafayette, prosecutors in the indictment said that the fixers placed at least $160,000 in bets on Louisiana Lafayette to cover the first half spread, and Louisiana Lafayette did with a 39-23 halftime lead. The indictment notes that Southern Miss played much better in the second half, but the first half result is central to the case. They also allege in the indictment that bribe payments were arranged after that game and that Arnold later helped recruit other college players into the scheme. And again, this is an indictment. These are allegations, not convictions, as we mentioned. And there is reference of 2 other players, Southern Miss players, in the indictment that were not named, and we don't want to speculate on anything there. But it did say that Arnold, along with, as the indictment reads, player 9 and player 10, all involved in the scheme. But I will say that I reached out for comment, and I believe the station did too, and the University of Southern Mississippi has declined to comment at this time, expecting comment maybe from them soon. But this obviously remains a developing federal case, and more information could come out as it moves through the courts. So all that to be said, I know that was a lot, but that was kind of what I gauged from my reporting this morning on this certain case. And I mean, honestly, guys, and if I'm talking about it honestly, it's honestly kind of it's just sad. I mean, it's just
terrible.
It's just, there's nothing else you can really describe it.
Well, let's emphasize what Dima has said, and Kelly would agree with this. Indictments are allegations. Indictments, nothing has been proven in court. So everyone indicted is innocent until proven guilty. But Kelly, tell me this. Is this not, if true, the ultimate betrayal to your university, to your fan base, to the people that support the program, and to the coaches that you play for, and to your teammates that are not involved in anything like this? One
quick thing, just to specify exactly what he's being charged with. Yes. Arnold has been charged with 3 counts of wire fraud, 2 counts of aiding and abetting, and a count for each for bribery in sporting contest and conspiracy to commit wire fraud.
By the federal government.
Yes.
And usually the federal government is not going to bring an indictment unless
they know they're going to win.
Yes, unless they've got an open and shut case, they generally will not do that.
Right. Will you agree, though, Kelly?
I think all of those are accurate descriptions.
With all the players allegedly involved, the ultimate betrayal to your school and your teammates and your fan base.
And when you look at some of the other schools that are involved in this, they're practically in our backyard. Nicholls State, some of the Nicholls State players are involved. Tulane, Northwestern State, over in Natchitoches, New Orleans, University of New Orleans, the Privateers, Alabama State, the Hornets over in Montgomery.
I think Mississippi Valley State, if I'm not mistaken. I hope I'm not wrong about that, but I think I read that, yes.
At Kennesaw State, who's now getting a lot of traction in Conference USA.
Now, is that coincidental, you think, that it's more of a regional thing?
Well, the thing, when you talk about recruiting other players, generally the guys that you're going to be closest to are guys around the area, right, or around other schools. There are so many other questions that are going to be asked and naturally be asked as to what knowledge did the other players besides these 3.
Right.
And again, Mo Arnold was the only one that was indicted, but 2 other players, not mentioned. So there's 3 guys on the team. Was there anybody else on the team that knew anything about it? Did and you would certainly think that the coaching staff would have no knowledge.
Did not know, yeah.
But it's just, it just seems to be one thing after another with the Donnie Tyndall situation and, what went down there. And we've always kind of joked on this program that the NCAA loves to lower the boom and hammer mid-major schools. If this was UCLA or Kansas, they might get a slap on the wrist,
right,
or they might have to sit out of the tournament one year. And you don't know what the ultimate decision here is going to be, or if Mo Arnold is even found guilty, which he has not been found guilty.
Correct. Right.
But it's just really tough to take.
Dima, I read in a couple of these articles, too, that they made a point of saying that no Power 5 schools or Power 4 schools were involved in this investigation, that these were all mid-major schools. Is that the interpretation you got?
Yeah, that's the indictment. And I was trying to pull it up, but Southern Miss was also mentioned in another part of this indictment that they were the other team in one of the games, and I'm trying to find it scrolling through the indictment. I just forgot to mention that in my little spiel at the beginning, but once I find it, I'll mention it. But basically, that like South Alabama, Southern Miss was the team that was against a player who was also a part of this investigation, and they played poorly so that Southern Miss would win, basically. But again, I'm trying to find that part in the indictment. But yeah, it's all mid majors, and just incredibly sad. And there's really no excuse for it. And
no.
Like y'all said, there's going to be a lot of speculation. There's going to be a lot of wondering about who knew, did the administration know? Did the athletic administration know? All these things. And really what it boils down to is the facts are this, that a former Southern Miss player has been charged with, point shaving a Southern Miss basketball game that he was participating in and allegedly intentionally did not play up to his standard so that he could make money.
And
that is the allegation.
And allegedly 2 other players
Yes.
in one way or another, and we don't know the specifics, in one way or another involved?
Yes. And so when you just say that, regardless of all the other speculations, I mean, that's just, you can't even explain it. That's just terrible.
I can't imagine, to be honest with you, that anyone in the athletic department knew about it. I just don't believe they did. I think, but here would be my question, and you guys can mull this over during the break. How would other players on the basketball team have not realized that maybe somebody on the team was giving less than 100% of their effort?
And how would you, knowing that this has come forward, how, if you were one of those players, would you feel knowing, again, if found guilty, that you were betrayed by one of
the ultimate betrayal
of a guy that you certainly would never have expected that would happen?
If true,
to.
the ultimate betrayal. I'll
For
say
sure.
it again. All right, we'll have more about this. We're going to talk baseball later with Daniel Stewart as well. Forest Health reminds you that keeping up with your favorite team's fun, but the most important player is always you. Get an annual physical to be sure your health is as good as it can be. Forest Health can help you with expert medical care closer to home, foresthealth.org. Also, remind you about our SuperTalk Eagle Hour podcast. Apple, Audible, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube. Ask Alexa or Siri to play the Eagle Hour. We'll be right back.
Big news from Robinson Electric Supply in Laurel. We've moved. You'll now find us directly behind our old building, right by Sawmill Animal Hospital. We're still your trusted electrical distributor, carrying everything from conduit to tape. And don't forget our full line of Milwaukee tools. Whether you're a contractor or a DIY pro, stop by the new Robinson Electric Supply at 1222 West 6th Street and see what's lighting up Laurel. Robinson Electric Supply. New location, same trusted service.
Southern Miss to the top. To the top. You're tuned in to the Eagle Hour.
Eagle Tire West sponsors the second segment of the Eagle Hour every day. Former Southern Miss baseball player Matt Warren invites you to see him and his staff. They sell premium Goodyear products, full-service auto and truck services, all at Eagle Tire West. Next to Smith Motor Company, Highway 98 West in Hattiesburg. They've been family-operated since 1985, and they are big, big, big Southern Miss supporters. Eagle Tire West, very happy to have them a part of the Eagle Hour family, as we are our good friends at Genesis of Hattiesburg, the official auto dealer of our show. Their sedans and SUVs are all at Mississippi's exclusive dealership, Highway 98 West in Hattiesburg. We continue to discuss this breaking story that involves former Southern Miss basketball player Mo Arnold, indicted allegedly as part of a point-shaving scheme that took place with numerous schools, all mid-major schools, oddly, and generally speaking in the southeastern United States. And Kelly, before we go back to Dima, he's got more specifics about the indictment. You made a comment, and I think it's so apt during the break. There was a time that we all just loved college athletics because everybody was playing for the school, man. They loved the school. The fans loved the school. The players gave every ounce of their energy for their school. And I don't know, for me personally, I think this is just another example of how greed and money is destroying college athletics in front of our very eyes.
It was pure. It was pristine. You know, it was untouched by other factors around the world. That's what people loved about college football, is that it was so pure.
Right.
And that other than their scholarships,
they were playing for the love of their university.
And the love of the game.
Right.
And how sadly times have changed.
All right, Dima, you've got some more specifics from this indictment. Let's hear that.
Yeah, so I wanted to go back to Southern Miss's first, and this is from the actual indictment, so I'm just going to be reading word for word kind of what it's saying. So on or about February 28th, 2024, Southern Mississippi played against South Alabama in an NCAA men's basketball game against South Alabama. South Alabama was favored by approximately 1.5 points in the first half at sports books throughout the United States and elsewhere. Before this game, the fixers and others at their discretion placed wagers of at least $275,000 on South Alabama to cover the first half spread of approximately 1 0.5 points. In text message communications with a straw bettor, defendant communicated that defendant Arnold, which is Mo Arnold, had agreed to fix the game and that the straw bettor could place bets on him, telling him, quote unquote, "We are locked in and he gonna call after practice." Since the game ended in a tie, defendant Arnold, that they lost their bets. So following the indictment goes on to say, following this failed attempt and given the substantial betting loss for the fixers, defendant Orlando Arnold agreed to make up for the losses by helping fix an upcoming Southern Miss basketball game against Louisiana Lafayette. Shortly before this game, defendant Arnold, person number 9 and person number 10, engaged in a FaceTime call with defendants. In that call, defendant Arnold and other Southern Miss players agreed to underperform in and influence the upcoming game in exchange for bribes. To further the scheme, person number 9 agreed to sit out that game. So,
do we know who set out that game?
I'm about to look that up here in a minute, but I want to go again. Southern Miss was also mentioned somewhere else in this indictment.
Alabama State. I think on page 51
yes, okay.
of the indictment, there was an Alabama State game. Now, this really didn't have so much to do with Southern Miss.
This was Alabama State.
Alabama State, but Southern Miss happened to be playing the Hornets.
Yes. It says on or about December 5th, 2024, between Alabama State and Southern Mississippi at Reed Green Coliseum in Hattiesburg, defendant Sean Fulcher, who's one of the South Alabama players, person 16, person 17, underperformed in and influenced the game they had agreed. However, at the end of the first half, Alabama State led Southern Mississippi 33-30, causing defendant Jalen Smith to send text messages at halftime to defendant and his Alabama State teammates expressing his concern about the score of the game. He urged Alabama State players to play poor defense, telling them to, quote-unquote, let Southern Mississippi lay it up, end quote. Person 17 responded to the text messages, conveying his commitment to the scheme and explaining that Southern Mississippi was, quote-unquote, so bad that the players were having trouble throwing the game. It's just terrible.
And actually, the bettors actually wound up winning. Which they actually...
During the second half of the Southern Mississippi game, defendants ensured that Southern Mississippi covered the spread. Southern Mississippi outscored Alabama State 51-31 in the second half and won the game 81-64. Southern Mississippi thus covered the spread, and the fixers won their bet. Sorry.
Well,
that's a lot of reading, I know.
Yeah,
I'm trying to report this.
It is really sad, and Dima's done a magnificent job digging up the indictment and published a report that he made this morning for his newspaper. I think we have to point out now that there's no indication in the indictment. Am I right about this, Dima? That Jay Ladner or the coaching staff was in any way involved in any of this.
No, there's no indication in the indictment, and it is worth noting that, of course, this was around the time that Jay had that unfortunate health scare with his heart attack. He was out from February 7th to the end of the season of that year. He came back for the conference tournament, and the alleged 2 games was on February 28th and March 1st, when Jay was not a part of the team. So that is something to monitor, but I don't necessarily think that completely clears him, of course, but we don't want to allege anywhere anyway.
We just want to emphasize there's no indication in this indictment at all about Jay Ladner or any of the coaches. And we're not going to speculate on names, obviously, but the indictment is indicating there were 3 Southern Miss players involved in this. Is that not correct?
Correct.
And you just speaking from my heart here, this basketball program has had a gray cloud over it for just a long time. Yeah. I mean, going back to the Tyndall administration and then the facilities, that has the construction, even though we've been told it's going to happen, sometime later this month. It's just been a really rough go for this basketball program. And just when you think, okay, ground is going to get broken in January, progress is going to be made, and then this fertilizer hits the ventilator, right? And there's going to be a lot more questions asked here, and you would think that this water is going to get pretty muddy and maybe too muddy to even drink.
Well, that's what I was about to ask. And Dima, I'll ask you your opinion. Kelly just expressed his. I know it's day one, and there's a lot to be learned, but how significant a problem and blow is this for the athletic department?
I think it's tremendously significant. I mean, there's a part of this that's the legal stuff, and they're going to have to sort that out as far as whether or not there could be, sanctions, whether or not. I mean, there's a lot of things that could still come from this. There's that side of it, but I think it's also the side of the fans. Like, Southern Miss basketball is already a sport where it's hard to get fan, support for it. A lot of fans really don't follow Southern Miss basketball to the extent of like what we do and stuff. And I think adding this now of like players that were on the team like a year ago, 2 years ago, that are mentioned, indicted and they're throwing the game just for money. They don't. I mean, that is just it's hard to get past that. And I think you're left kind of wondering like, yes, these people were caught, but you're left wondering like who else? Who was there anyone else on the team that was involved in this that we know it was potentially up to 3 players, could have been more. And I think like it's a fair question to ask, right? Us as journalists asking that question, but fans are probably pointing out specific names, and then at that point, it's really hard to win them back, I think. And and I kind of sit there and agree with them. I mean, like you're saying, like, and you mentioned it, Bob. Like when I came in here, when you heard Mo Arnold, you were like, what? Like that was a player that you thought you connected with.
Yeah.
He played really hard, as you said. And now you found out that he was accepting bribes to stop playing for money.
Very disappointing.
Well, that's what's charged.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I interviewed that specific kid 2 or 3 times, and every time complimented him on what I perceived as his total effort. Anytime he was in the game. Very disappointing, Kelly. I mean, it's hard to describe how it makes you feel.
And here's what's even more disappointing, and this is purely hypothetical, but let's just hypothetically say that the school gets punished in some way. I think that's unfair, and I don't want to sound like the new age sports fan that everybody gets a trophy, because I think what's unfair is if it turns out that Mo Arnold is guilty of these charges, proven guilty.
We'll say if.
How could you punish a whole school and a whole program over the actions of one person?
Or even if it were 3 of them. I mean,
I don't. And
because you're punishing the fans.
Right.
You're punishing everybody that had nothing to. The fans are coming there paying money, cheering the team on.
Right.
And to think that you would have players, that's where the punishment needs to be. If it's proven that these players did that, that's who needs to be punished.
Right. So anybody, they should do whatever they need to do on an individual basis, but you should not indict the entire program based on the actions of one person. That's too severe.
And I will tell you don't need to be indicting, or I don't mean to use that term legally, but you don't need to be blaming a coach who was at the time fighting for his life, right?
Of course.
Right. So we know where Jay Ladner was. He was either in the hospital or recovering from a major heart attack.
He's not mentioned anywhere in this indictment, which is very important to note.
But this quickly before we go into a break, this also needs to be mentioned. This is the problem when you have this can be a problem when you have players at any school for 1 year and then done.
You don't know who they are. Right.
You don't know who they are, and they hold no allegiance to that school.
Hey, everybody, look for a great dessert this weekend. We suggest Mo Baby and Yay Company. We love Morgan and all those guys down there. 2902 Hardy Street. Check out their Facebook page. They've got a great Mardi Gras platter you and I need to talk about later, Kelly, that I learned about just today. We'll be right back. I'm going to talk a little baseball.
The Eagle Hour. Southern Miss to the top.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Our program continues from the Southern Bank Court studio here in Hattiesburg. This segment sponsored by D-Bat on Hardy Street, where you can get great baseball and softball training for kids of every age and adult sports training. It's all at D-Bat. They're on Hardy Street, state-of-the-art facility. Luke Reynolds, former Golden Eagle, manages that facility. We really do appreciate all they do with our program. We're glad to have Daniel Stewart back on the show. He's going to be joining us on a regular basis once baseball kicks off, of course. He is our official baseball analyst and a former great pitcher for the Golden Eagles. And Daniel, we're down to less than 30 days away. Now, put yourself back in that position when you were on the team, and what do you think's going on in the minds of these ball players right now?
Well, they're definitely excited. College sports is not just, between January and May. It's a year-round event now. So these guys have been in the weight room. They've been running a lot. There's a lot of work that goes into getting them to this point. So this is when all that work comes. It kind of comes to fruition, and you really get to see what you're made of. And, it gets exciting. The butterflies start kind of popping up, knowing that the season's about to get started, and I'm sure these guys are just really excited right now.
Well, they're jumping right into the fire. We've talked a lot on this show about how brutal the first month of the schedule is. Really quite amazing when you take a look at it. So the pitching staff's going to have to come around pretty quickly, right? And that always takes a little time, though, doesn't it, Daniel, to figure out who your key guys are, who you're going to use in certain situations. But I would think it increases the difficulty for the coaches when you're playing top-level national caliber competition like they're going to be doing.
It really does. The pitchers, it takes a little bit of time to kind of find where you're going to be and who's going to be the guys that are really going to step up. And, when you got a tough schedule from the get-go, the learning curve doesn't need to curve too much. It needs to be pretty steep. So, there's going to be some guys who I think are going to have good years. I'm hoping Cross comes back and kind of keeps doing what he's been doing for us. Really look for, a lot of good things from Graydon Harris. Colby Allen, is going to be our guy this year. I think the big stopper that he's always been. So I think there's going to be those key guys that can kind of get us over that upfront hump because we do have some really pretty tough competition here start out the season.
Daniel, when you talk to other sports analysts about the big three sports in particular, football, basketball, and baseball, most all agree that true incoming freshmen, have a better chance at starting on the baseball field than on the basketball court and the football field. Is there anything you can put your finger on as to why that is the case, if indeed that's true?
Yeah, well, to me, it's that, think about basketball and think about football. Size matters. In baseball, it does, but it doesn't matter as much. Look at a Jose Altuve for the Astros, a little bitty guy that, he doesn't have to be a big guy that can really do well. So, you come in as a freshman and you don't really have a lot of experience. Maybe you're not quite the man that you're going to be in 4 years when you're a senior, but if you got some skills and you can throw and run and hit, you've got a chance to step in and really make an impact there towards the beginning of your career as a college athlete, especially in baseball.
So it's also just prior to the season for baseball fans. Now, I want you to just put your fan hat on and not your analyst hat. As a fan, what are 2, maybe 3 questions that you have in your head that you wonder about this Southern Miss team going into the season?
Well, first off is who's going to be our ace. I mean, good gosh, replacing the arm we had last year. Good gosh, it's going to be tough. Maybe Colby steps into that role from being the closer, so there's a question mark. Probably the big question mark I've got too, Davis Gillespie. The year before last, great year. Started off good last year, but really tailed off, and you hated to see that, just couldn't get out of the funk that he got in. But I'm hoping in the off season he kind of got it together because I know the potential that this guy has. So hopefully he's going to get back out there. Then the other question mark is, especially in today's world with the transfers. Who do we get in the portal? Are they going to be able to contribute? Last year we got Joey Urban, Ben Higdon, and some others. They really contributed. So who are going to be those transfers that we got this year that are going to help us contribute?
Of course, Travis Creel has told me that he's really worked with Davis Gillespie in his swing and feels like that's on the trajectory to be good. And then you mentioned transfers, Kyle Morrison from South Alabama and Caleb Stelly, both from also from Louisiana. Both of those players, should be really good for them as far as the transfer side. I guess I wanted to ask, Tucker Stockton coming back as catcher. Experienced guy, almost. I think he's a fifth-year senior, and that to me is something that's kind of underrated. Returning a catcher with that much experience, and also you have Lawson Odom as well back. So 2 catchers with an incredible experience. Can you talk about how important that is, just as a pitcher?
Yeah, well, just as a pitcher, you've got confidence in the guy that you're throwing to.
Right.
The catcher's going to be the quarterback on the baseball field. He's going to be able to see everything, direct everybody. So having a guy that's got the kind of experience that Tucker's got is going to be key to, I would say, the way our season goes. Hopefully he can stay healthy and kind of build on the year that he had last year. But, it's one of those things that is really going to take us far, having a guy like Tucker come back. And, because he sees these pitchers every day, so if there's a pitcher that's struggling, needs some work, he'll be able to tell them, hey, do this, do that. Here's what you need to do to get better. And, he'll be just as big of an asset to those guys as the pitching coach will be.
I think we can all agree that's one position the Golden Eagles will be even stronger at this year than they were last year as catcher. Is that not fair to say, Daniel?
Oh, I think it's fair to say. I mean, gosh, he's a guy who, when he got hot last year, it was like, man, where has this guy been? So, to think that, he's not going to be at least a 350 hitter, 12 home run type of guy, maybe more. I think that's kind of, I hate to put lofty expectations on a guy, but, that's kind of the trajectory he's on. I think we should be able to see a season like that for him this year.
We haven't asked you this, but what are your thoughts about the first month of this schedule? I mean, you go down, golly, I mean, there's not an easy out in the first 30 days of play.
No, it's, you think about baseball, right now we got college football championships going on, and, it's always the big names. Baseball's not that way. You've got a team like UC Santa Barbara, not a big school, great baseball program. Even our guys like Southeastern that we're playing in the midweek, they're always going to be a gritty group. Then we head out to Round Rock, Oregon State, Purdue, Baylor, Power 5 baseball teams that are recruiting from, just about wherever they want. So if we can run the gauntlet here early, compete, do well, I'm hoping it's going to make us stronger for the second half of the year. But it's definitely going to be, it's not going to be an easy task to get through, and really going to show a lot as to the resilience of our guys, how they get through these first 2 to 3 weeks to a month of baseball.
A lot of fans are going to disagree with this, but we were talking, I think, just yesterday here. If you could run that gauntlet and come out of that 500 or a little above 500, you should be really optimistic about the rest of the year. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, gosh, our fans are going to want better than 500. I want better than 500.
Right, but you didn't hear what I'm saying.
If we're being realistic, it's not realistic to expect that we're going to win all of those games. And those other guys, those other teams are thinking the same thing. They're looking at us on their schedule and thinking, man, we've got, Southern Miss that we've got to play here in the first few weeks. And so everybody's kind of thinking the same thing. If we can come out of this, 500 or better, I think that's a reasonable expectation. And, like we talked about, it seems like our Southern Miss team only gets stronger as the year goes on. So get through this first little hump that we got to go through with this tough competition, and I hope we'll get stronger as the year goes on.
Daniel, where do you think that Seth Smith fits into this puzzle?
He's such a versatile guy. I was talking after the baseball season last year to a guy that kind of knows him and said that he had the potential to be one of the better infielders Southern Miss has ever had. And I was like, I've seen glimpses of that. We've obviously seen what he can do at the plate at times. I'm just hoping he can kind of put it all together, because I think he does have the potential to be that guy. He looks like he can play anywhere in the infield, second, short, third that he would need to. He's a good left-handed bat if we need to. So I think a lot's going to get asked of him this year, and let's see if he can step up and do what he needs to do.
Yeah, but it is a good problem you have when you got a kid the caliber of Seth Smith and you're trying to figure out where he can play.
Yeah,
it's going to be him or Ty Long at short. They're battling it out for shortstop.
Yeah. He could probably go start for 90% of the teams the Golden Eagles will compete against, don't you think, Daniel?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, you mentioned Ty Long. Ty's, I don't know if he redshirted, but he's a second-year guy. Mm-hmm. Pitched some for us last year. He's, 2 years removed from Ripley High School. He's going to be a starting shortstop for the number 20 ranked baseball team in the country. So talk about a guy stepping up. But yes, Seth's got the capabilities, and that kind of internal team competition is going to be good. I think they'll feed off each other, learn from each other, and only make each other better. So wherever we can get Seth fit in there, if he earns that spot, he definitely deserves a chance to play.
All right, you're going to join us on opening day when we have a special 2-hour show, correct?
Absolutely. I can't wait. I won't miss it. I'll be there.
And then we'll look forward to having you on the show every Monday to break things down.
Well,
we appreciate you, Daniel.
We'll see him before that, because the Kairos Mardi Gras Parade is February 7th.
Yeah, well, they haven't told you that you're not
Absolutely.
invited back. Y'all aren't really inviting Kelly back. I thought he knew that. I'm sorry, Daniel.
Kelly's got an open invitation. All of you guys do every year. We love to have you and especially Kelly. Love to have Kelly.
And the only
double the food.
Don't encourage it. Don't encourage it.
He just said that because I've got photographs with him in compromising positions.
Daniel, thank you, buddy. We appreciate you and look forward to having you on the show regularly here once baseball gets underway.
Thanks, guys. Looking forward to it.
All right, Daniel Stewart, everybody. We'll be right back.
Well, I'm already looking at social media. This all falls on McClain and Ladner.
Well, that's what I was trying to say in the second segment was like.
Big news from Robinson Electric Supply in Laurel. We've moved. You'll now find us directly behind our old building, right by Sawmill Animal Hospital. We're still your trusted electrical distributor, carrying everything from conduit to tape. And don't forget our full line of Milwaukee tools. Whether you're a contractor or a DIY pro, stop by the new Robinson Electric Supply at 1222 West 6th Street and see what's lighting up Laurel. Robinson Electric Supply. New location, same trusted service.
You're tuned in to the Eagle Hour. The Eagle Hour. Southern Miss to the top.
Hey, welcome back. Fourth segment sponsored by 4th Street Bar and Grill, right there in the shadow of the rock. Great place to catch the ball games this weekend. A lot of good NFL football on TV all weekend. We should mention the men played basketball last night, and we talked a lot about how important this game was, and as it turns out, Dima, they just didn't play very well against a good Troy team, huh?
No, they did not. And, of course, Troy is such a good shooting basketball team. And starting in that game, man, they couldn't hit anything, and Southern Miss just couldn't hit anything also. I thought that really Southern Miss's only chance was to kind of get up in front of Troy, 15, 20-point lead or something, 10 to 15-point lead, and then stay in the game until the end and try to hit some shots at the end. But they didn't. They had the opportunity to do that because Troy started the game like 4 of 18 or something. That was ridiculous. They were both shooting under 30% in the middle of the first half.
But that's not a game that a lot of people in the Sun Belt are going to win when they're at Troy. No. So I don't think you can. I think this one Saturday at Texas State is one that you can win on the road and need to. If you're going to continue to move yourself up in the standings for the Sun Belt seedings, you got to win those on the road.
That's the next game, right?
I think with the news today, I think everybody's kind of
Well, let's go back to that for a minute. One thing I'd like to emphasize, and we were kind of talking about it off air. We're glancing at social media, and of course, the craziness has already started. A lot of inaccurate accusations that people have no basis of knowledge of, and a lot of blame already being thrown around. It's just way, way, way premature to be accusing anybody of knowledge of anything. Is that not fair to say?
It is, but I want to mention this, Bob. And I do. You guys kind of joke with me that I spend a lot of time around college, people at different watering holes and whatnot.
The police are a lot more concerned about it.
Which is true.
But go ahead.
But I will say this: I think you guys would be astonished and amazed at the amount of sports betting, particularly on college campuses. I mean, when you go to any one of these sports bars in the Hattiesburg area, you'll talk to people. Why are you so engrossed in this game? Well, I've got so and so minus 14 points, or I've got Josh Allen to rush for 52 yards, or it is amazing, college kids, and how they're betting on everything. I don't think this is an isolated incident. I am kind of intrigued that these are all mid majors, and that you can't tell me that some of the bigger schools.
I find that a little shaky myself.
Yeah, that some of the bigger schools aren't doing this same thing, but I think you would be shocked and amazed at the amount of sports gambling taking place on American college campuses.
Well, this is a Bob Getty opinion, which means nothing, but I'm going to say this. I think anyone that believes that Jeremy McClain or Jay Ladner had any knowledge of this is just crazy. I don't think there's a milligram of a possibility that either one of those men would have ever tolerated anything like this had they been aware of it. Just my opinion.
I hear you, Bob, and I'm with you. But you were kind of surprised. And again, I'm not saying that Jay or Jeremy had anything to, but you were also kind of surprised that Mo Arnold would be involved.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think those are. I was surprised at that specific kid based on the way he played.
I'm with you.
But again, I just my opinion. I don't believe either of those men. I think if they had the slightest hint of that, they would have addressed it immediately.
Particularly with the problems they've had in the past with prior basketball
y'all
coaches.
disagree with me about that? I mean, I just
No, I don't. But again, I'm not going to make a statement like that just without all the facts. But no, I don't.
It was an opinion, not a statement.
Yeah, right. But at the end of the day, and like I said in the second segment,
it's sad.
It's sad, but it's also like we look at it from a journalistic perspective, and it's like, we can make speculations, on certain things, but like at the end of the day, the facts are the facts, right? And the facts are that, or the alleged facts are of what Mo Arnold did and two other unspecified players did. We don't know what the facts are with Jay Ladner and Jeremy McClain. We don't know,
That's
right? So But
there may be no facts.
Right. And I know Jeremy McClain and Jay Ladner are very close, like we all do. And I'm with you. I would be shocked in the sense that if they knew something and didn't say anything. But
here, Dima, is, I think, the ultimate sadness. Is now you got not just Southern Miss, you got basketball fans that'll start watching games, and you can't help but wonder, is everybody giving 100% of their effort? I mean, is there a fix-in on this game? I mean, how do you avoid that?
I think it goes back to kind of what we said kind of jokingly all season, but there's so many basketball games, right? Like, and I'm thinking of the Alabama State Southern Miss game that was referenced in the indictment, and like that game really didn't matter to anything, and the only thing that mattered in the floor was those players getting paid if they lost the game.
That's terrible.
Exactly. And so, but and according to, you know what, I'm not even going to mention that.
Well, I was going to say if these gambling people who are trying to pull strings on players, I would go, if that's what I wanted to try to get accomplished, I'd talk to the referees about throwing the games. They could just as easily throw a game as players could.
Well, needless to say, we'll follow this story, and kudos to Dima here for his reporting on it today and the research that he did this morning. You didn't even have time for lunch, did you, brother? I saw you.
Yeah, I'm about to go eat. I got a box of Cheez-Its right here.
How many did Kelly try to get?
It's almost gone once I gave him the box. I tried to be kind and share.
Shameless.
There's some left in there.
3 or 4.
Well, yeah.
We'll be back tomorrow.
I didn't eat them all.
Southern Miss.
To the top.
I wanna fly like an eagle to the sea. Fly like an eagle, let my spirit carry me. I want to fly like an eagle till I'm free. I go through the revolution.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.